Hello everyone and welcome to the second semi-final of the WardiTV 25,000 YouTube subscriber Invitational, only here on YouTube. How are you all doing? And what a semi-final we have, a really exciting matchup that I have zero idea how to predict, because in the upper right, looking amazing as of late, a GSL finals under his belt. He just looks so good lately. It is the Red Protoss player, Stats. And he looked great in the quarterfinals, but so did his opponent in the bottom left, the Terran Terror, that's been terrorizing, or tyrannizing, the European ladder and events all over the place. This is Team Liquid's Clem. I know a lot of people say, well, Clem, he wins some of these online events, but does he win any of these bigger events? Can he win anything with Koreans in it sometimes? And, well, that's what we're here to find out. Semi-final number 2, best of 5. And honestly, I have no idea what to really expect from this TVP. Just a big thank you once again to everybody who's been watching these games. They've been amazing. We've had great viewership on them. We've had so many people hitting that sub button. If you haven't already, please do consider it. Helps us out so much. Push us towards more subscriber goals. We'll put more YouTube tournaments out for you. Of course, don't forget to hit the like button in the comment video down below, because those are ways that you can help even further on every single video. Let's ram this video full of likes, guys. We've had some good attempts at getting to 1,000 likes in some of the recent videos, but we've not quite made it yet. Maybe this could be the one if we all power together. You know, we're getting like 20,000 plus views on these videos, guys. So like, if like 1 in every 20 people, maybe. All right, enough from me begging you guys to like the video, because there's nothing better for me to do. Let's talk about TVP a little bit, and starting on Ice and Chrome especially. Nice large map to begin with. Definitely kind of makes me kind of go like, a little bit, you know, I don't know if this is the sort of map you want to be playing Stats on as an opening to the series, because we know what Stats is great at, right? Stats is that excellent macro Protoss player. He gets into long games, and that's what Ice and Chrome lets you do, and then he becomes so difficult to beat. So then I wonder, what does Clem do? How does Clem approach this game? Does he really go into it with like a let's go to the late game scenario? It's hard to make some of the tank pushes work on this map, though not impossible. The one good thing about this map from a Terran's point of view is that there's no ramp up into the natural. So coming across the map here, you can bunker rush the low ground forward, right? You can just make that kind of your progress. You don't have to go up a ramp, and that means you can maybe make something happen here. Similar idea onto the third base too, as Stats hides that probe out up on the top side. I think maybe just afraid of bringing it back home while the Reaper's out there, maybe hunting, doesn't want it to run into that and die. And I think that is the case. He's just finding the right time, and especially now as he sees the Reaper with the Adept, he'll know he can get it home. The Adept's just going to continue forward, no fear, taking shots from the Reaper. The Adept does shade through to the natural and will continue up into the main. As the depots do raise, the Hellions are on the way out. And we do just have the Robo Facility. And the Twilight Council back at home, so very standard stuff. Looks like Stats will just go into some blink play to start things off, whilst, well, Clem, a couple of Hellions already on the way out, the Tech Lab on the barracks, the Starport building. Definitely potential for you. He's going to go with more than 2 Hellions here, so he's going to look for a Hellion run by. Stats is already beginning to establish the wall, though, so this is going to be a wall off that is literally just designed to not let any Hellions in, right? That's its goal. That's what it's meant to do. Oh, he's going to go 4 gates as well. I actually like this a lot from Stats, because now he's going to have a lot of counter pressure as well. Oh, and there's a Banshee from Clem. I feel like this is one of those scenarios where as long as Stats gets an Observer up and these Hellions don't somehow get in to get massive damage, the counterattack can just be game-ending, because he's going to have 4 gateways of Blink Stalkers against a Terran that's investing into multiple waves of harassing units before really building anything that can fight. First 2 Marines of the game are about to take to the stage. As our Reaper and our Hellions moving forward, they will drop the grenade, they will pop that Stalker out the way, and into the natural expansion we go. Oh, and those probes are already running. Well, this is what Clem needs. He needs some early damage, and he is absolutely getting it. But as he loses one-shot potential, the shield battery comes to use, and that's going to be 6 probes killed, and that's not a bad start. There is a shield battery in both mineral lines, so I'm skeptical about how much a Cloaked Banshee can get done. And obviously Clem does know that it's going to be 4 gateways, so he should know the amount of units that are coming across the map as a follow-up to this. That Prism is about to finish up on the Robo Facility, so away we go. The question is, where's the closest Observer? It's across the map. So defensively, a Banshee is not going to be that useful. Offensively, Banshees, though, he doesn't have to worry about those, because, you know, Stats sees right now that Banshee, it's at home. He sees its cloak as well. So, I mean, he should already be happy. There's a shield battery in each mineral line. He can get an Observer, but he doesn't need it yet because Clem's playing defensive. Let's see what the Assaulters can do. I kind of like the Banshee defensively, even if there is an Observer, because it is that, it is a high DPS unit. Let's see what stats can do. I mean, if you blink in here, that tank is... Well, he's going to use the Adept to almost soak the first shot, but double Banshee... Yeah, double Banshee might just be scary enough. Of course, stats. Okay, here he goes. He actually goes for it right here. He will get the tank pretty quickly. No, he doesn't get the tank. Okay, drops back down, gets it now, but the Banshees, you can see the damage they're pushing out, and he's going to lose the Prism. No target fire on the Prism. Now he gets it, but only after another wave of Stalkers warp in. Okay. It's okay for Clem. The double Banshee, a new tank pops out in time. The problem was getting into the right place here as stats, and that's not a good blink at all. He loses 2 more Stalkers on the top side of this. Yeah, he couldn't really do much, right? The tank was in a really good place, choked up by the factory, so it was even awkward to kill the tank off once he committed to it. And that was already a bit of an expensive loss there for stats, and yeah, really good defense from Clem. I love keeping the Banshees at home, because the Banshees actually put out so much damage in that scenario. It's unreal. Now, if the Banshees are just there, imagine the tank is just there, you don't worry about the Banshees, I actually think that game might end. So yeah, great decision by Clem. Now, he did lose one of the Banshees, he only has 1 left on the map. Unfortunately, that means it's not going to be super amazing at coming into harass. There's maybe like these probes here that are out of reach of the mineral line if you attack them as they get to the mineral patch to mine. So maybe there you can circumvent the shield battery healing a little bit and get something done. As Stats starts to make his transition, Temple Archives and a Forge, he's going to go blink into Storm, which is not really a super common way of playing this out. Usually, Colossi are the next step if you stay on 2 bases, just because the Storm is not really a... Well, Storm's much more of kind of like a let's play on 3 base kind of thing, because you generally want a lot of Zealot and Gateway support, and, to have that Gateway support, you're generally wanting the 3rd Nexus and the 3rd base economy, but that's obviously not here just yet. As this Banshee swats the Stalkers going one way, it will go the other. The Observer misses it too. Prism into the main base, and of course, one thing that Stats has been amazing at in PvT consistently over the last month or two has absolutely been Zealot drops into a Terran's base at the worst possible times for the Terran player. That's not going to be... Oh, wow. Okay. Well, Clem, I think, just won this game, because now Stats has nothing to keep Clem at home with. And there is no way anything useful gets in off this Templar Archives before Clem attacks, right? This was just a couple sloppy mistakes from Stats. I mean, I can understand the fight being a little bit sloppy. It definitely wasn't a great setup. It definitely didn't look like the ideal kind of situation to begin with. But the follow-up, I've got to say, I really don't think there's... I mean, losing the Prism, right? That just shouldn't really happen. That's a mistake you can't have happen if you want to win a game like this. The Stalkers will come in. They'll blink for a tank in the background. Doesn't get it. Has to go back in. Stim is there. He's used his blink, so he's going to lose multiple Stalkers, and Stats is in trouble. Just in case we didn't already know. That was another blink that's just not quite perfect. And I've got to say, if Stats plays like this all series long, this is going to be a Clem victory, right? You need to not make these mistakes. Against someone as good as Clem, he is going to be good enough to punish you absolutely for them. First tank siege is up. Gate taking damage. Second tank, third tank. These gates are going to go down. What are you meant to do? That's your production. Banshee makes its way to the back of the mineral line. Looks for some damage while this happens. And Stats is focused on the front. There's no flank here. There's no anything, right? The Stalker count's not even that great. There's the Storm. Split 1, split 2. I mean, didn't even really need to split from the top. And Clem splits beautifully when he needs to then reconverge and just overwhelm that Protoss army. And Clem just looks freaking-tastic in that first game, but really aided by the fact that Stats made a couple of errors, especially some micro-heavy errors that was not really expected from someone like Stats. So let's hope he can sharpen up on those. Otherwise, this is going to be a very quick series overall, I think, in favor of Clem. But hey, let's hope. Stats is absolutely the kind of player that can bring himself around. And the only way to see how it's going to turn around is if we get ourselves into that game number 2, of course. Hopping into a game number 2, up 1-0 in the best of 5. The Red Terran player, Clem, starts to the top right-hand side of Eternal Empire here. As in the bottom left, we've got the Blue Legend Stats. Very, very interested to see if Stats can adjust from some of the mistakes that we saw in that first game, because I really feel like this was a very uncharacteristic way of Stats, first of all, setting up, playing, micro errors. I mean, even the build kind of felt a little bit off, and maybe that all just comes down to those early Hellions getting in, able to deal some early damage in the game, and maybe that just had way too much of an impact and really threw Stats from what he wanted to do. And maybe was just kind of, freestyling from there on out. You never really know, and that's the kind of the best solution or the best theory that I have, because I just don't see how Stats plays like that most of the time. He doesn't play like that most of the time, quite frankly. He plays much better than that, so let's hope we see it in game number 2, Eternal Empire. As we do have a pretty standard setup. Rax gas here from Clem. Stats is just going to go gate. No attempt to wall, though. And actually, what I find really interesting about this is not even an attempt to wall behind the mineral line. So a Reaper doesn't get, like, walled in. Usually that's the play, right? You make, like, a wall off here or so. And that wall off then means if a Reaper comes through around the back of this, it gets blocked and you're stuck here. This isn't really that in the slightest. So no Reaper wall off. No real attempt to kind of shoehorn a Reaper in and to help get a kill on it. So I do find that a little bit strange to get us started, as the Reaper from Clem already building up. So that'll come across the map soon as the double SCV squad is, well, hunting down that probe and might get a kill. Hello? Stats just got SCV killed by on a probe. That's not the word. He's just got his probe killed by an SCV. That was just not the selection of words I needed to use right then and there. It really did not. It really was not. Okay. Putting that aside, we really do have this Reaper from Clem making its way out down the bottom left-hand side of the map already. So Clem's coming across to see what's up. He's already scouted with the first SCV, which is basically a check to say you are expanding, right? You're not building a second gateway on the map. There's nothing I have to be immediately worried about in the first 2.5 minutes of the game. You see that command center down, the Nexus down, and obviously the answer to that is no, you do not have to worry. Clem sees the Adept shading, does not know if it's shaded or not, but it will, and he will go into the main base unharmed. He'll find himself a gateway, and he'll actually see the Twilight Council building right in place. So, I mean, Clem gets information right off the start there. I mean, that's pretty much the best information you can get. The Reaper gets in, sees the Twilight as it starts up. The only thing I'd be slightly worried about there is almost like, does he cancel the Twilight and change up his build plan almost? Because I saw it so early, he maybe could, but that's still kind of a wild idea as the Reaper comes back home. And that's kind of nice, because the Reaper now goes home with information and will be able to help shut this Adept down. As you do see Clem going into a different follow-up this time around, by the way. Just one Hellion, no reactor for the Hellions. So, yeah, just a single Hellion here, as this Adept is not going to get the SCV before it gets into the bunker. Submarine gets into, and this is pretty much all of this pressure denied already. Yeah, good job, well done. Good defense from Clem as Stats goes up into Blink. Robo facility on the natural. I do wonder if we see like a whole chunk of extra gateways coming down here. You know, like going like gateways 2, 3, 4, and really kind of applying that pressure. It was Robo first, which is a pretty good indicator that we're going to see a bunch of gateways. Maybe Stats just wanted to do his build from last game, only really executing it this time. For the moment, it will sit at 3 gates. And as that Robo comes up, we'll look for Stats to get some information across the map. Reaper and the Hellion will want to drop the grenade to try and break a way in. Doesn't quite get there, takes a shot, and the Reaper decides it is just not worthwhile to commit to. Oh, but there is the 4th gateway, by the way. Up in the main as well, and I do like that, because then it hides a little bit from Clem what's going on too. He doesn't know that there's a 4th gate. He knows there's 3 gates, but that's all he knows. So he doesn't quite know the exact gateway count. We'll see what he does with that. I do love that Clem has double racks as the follow-up, though. Whenever you're playing 4-gate Blink, one of the best things you can do is have double racks. Because what is essentially add-on double racks, which is essentially then triple racks, right? Because it gives you the upgrades, and you get that bio out to really counter-push against the Blink Stalkers much faster. If you're playing a 3cc style, you just get penned in for so long, and you can survive, don't get me wrong, but it just is an eternity until you're on the map. So the Protoss player can go from that 4-gate Blink, hardcore greed, 3rd, Robo Bay, all the probes in the world, doesn't have to set up any defenses at home initially. I really do prefer the 3-rack setup as a follow-up to this. Now Clem knows how many gates there are as he goes into the main. He will disrupt this mining just a little bit. And that's obviously a little bit of an annoyance here. Stats comes in with the Stalker, and a little bit of back and forth for the moment. There goes our Prism. Gonna make its way across the upper right-hand side. So Prism going across to the upper right, and just gonna be seeing the Marauder building from Clem. I mean, he has a bunker on the low ground. Tank isn't sieged in the main. I gotta say, I feel like that's a bit of a brazen way to play this. Obviously, great map for 4-gate Blink Stalkers, the ability to blink from the natural straight up into that main. But it is a pretty quick reinforcement from the main kind of location to the natural, as this bunker just gets saved in time. Stats will turn his attention to killing off SCVs, and he gets 4 of them to begin with. So 4 workers already being killed off there. Stimpack is continuing along. A few Marines and Marauder being added in. There's 4 more Stalkers, though. Stats is not done with this just yet, despite the double tank in the main. He's going to blink forward here with the extra Stalkers. This bunker will die. SCVs are nowhere near. A nice pickup with the Prism. Saves that low HP Stalker. You kind of need a tank down here, really. And it's on its way down now. It's actually going to sit on the ramp where, well, Stats just blinks in forward. He does eat tank shots, though, because the tank in the main base was able to add to that. And this fight continues. Marines and Marauders going in for this. And we do see SCVs pulling, so Clem in a little bit of desperation. He doesn't have that many fighting units remaining. Only a few Marines, the Marauder as well. Siege tank of Clem gets going on the ramp, but 7 SCVs killed. And you know what? There's just no coverage in the natural. Stalkers blink through. 10 SCVs killed, and he's going to put the pressure on to force these SCVs forward again. They have to come in to repair this orbital, and that's the point at which Stats just starts to pick up kills. More Stalkers warping into this, and this is already getting out of control. It's absolutely crazy at the moment as Stats is dominating this game number 2. He's not letting Clem get into his game plan at all. 14, 15 SCVs down. That's not done just yet at all. He's got a fairly fresh mule that just drops. That was a bit of a missed target on the siege tank, but it finally will go down. Hello, Stats, kill it. Yeah, I mean, that was a bit closer than it needed to be as he gets the medevac. He lost a fair few Stalkers here in the end, but the Marauders are going down, and Clem doesn't even have a tech lab on the factory anymore, so he was done producing siege tanks. He was out of here. GG's, and Clem taps out to give Stats game number 2, and Stats ties us up 1-1. That Blink Stalker aggression working out this time. So a similar strategy to game 1. Clem gets off to a worse start by not throwing Stats off and being aggressive, and Stats is able to make it work out. So 1-1 tied up and going to a game number 3 with everything to play for between the two of them. Just gotta say, as you start up game 3, guys, I'm sorry. I feel like the game sounds and music's been super loud, and I just checked, and these replays, there's been a patch since these replays came out. Not anything that changed balance or anything, but just a little bit of a, I think it was just co-op updates. Anyways, there's a patch since this came out, and so the replays, you have to load off the server, and they weren't actually loading my normal sound settings, so everything's been louder. And I've been fighting with it, thinking, I'm like, am I just going crazy? I just had a long day. No, the sound settings were actually all just like a lot louder than usual. So I'm so sorry, guys. I really hope that it's okay, because obviously I don't really want to go back and like recast games. So I hope it was somewhat bearable for the first 2 maps or so, and I haven't just scared you all off. In which case, if I have, oh, Wardy, I suck so much. All right, that's out of the way. It'll be better from here on out, guys. Bottom right side, our blue Terran from Team Liquid is Clem. Taking on the red Protoss top left. Give it up for Stats. Statsy boy heading down the bottom right side here with the probe leading the charge. Off and away to see, well, not much of anything right now. This is Submarine for game number 3, so 3rd game of the series, and looking pretty good for Stats in that last game. Really getting back on track, really decisive blinks. There's one moment where he didn't kill a tank as soon as he needed to, but other than that, I'd say looking pretty good. And well, Clem was obviously the one that looked a little bit weaker there. Was Clem making many mistakes? Well, he definitely let that bunker go down the natural a bit too easily. Both the tanks in the main, to me, seems like a problem. I can understand then how it can feel as though you're kind of abandoning your main base and letting the blink in there become too much of an issue. So it is tricky to hold, and it's tricky to hold for a reason, as we do see of Stats now in this game 3. Is he going to keep up that sort of same pressure? Is he going to go once again into a style that tries to just hit those blink stalkers into a base, that tries to take advantage of that? Well, the one way to find out is to sit back and watch. That's what we will do. It's what I do best sometimes. Sometimes it's just better to let, best to let the pro gamers make their moves and then talk about those, But predictions are fun, and this is a small map, and you can already see Clem is actually opening up with a tech lab on the barracks. I was about to say it's a small map, and it definitely opens certain Terran aggression. This is one of them, not one I would have mentioned right off the bat, actually, but I was thinking maybe, if you want to go for like a tank push, right? You get across the map super quickly. It's, it is the map of 2 base Marine tank pushes. No ramp up into the natural as well. Very similar to what we talked about back on Ice and Chrome. So you can set those tanks and bunkers up and push the natural without issue. This instead is going to be a concussive shell. So this is really aggression from the start into 3 racks. So Clem going to go super bio heavy. He loves this play. Concussive Shell's opener, hide the first Marine and Marauder off to the side. It makes it look like a Reaper opening, so you don't really doubt it as Stats, so you commit in. And the next thing you know, he shaded forward as well. Boom, Marauder shows up. Concussive Shells is here. And guess what? The Marauder's to the side, and that's why you go for it like that. And then the Adept is forced to shade. And that's an early Adept kill. And at the very least here, you force yourself, you get yourself an early unit kill, and you force a shield battery back at home from Stats. Now, Clem will go across the map and try and apply a bit of pressure, as Stats once again does go Twilight Council into Robo, so very similar to what we saw in game number 1 and 2 so far. But yeah, 2 Marauders and a Marine come across, and shield battery up. This is really just a check to make sure he built that shield battery. At this point, it's already done a good job of starting. And of course, you're into that very fast stim after. It's all about this next bio push, which again can hit so quickly. We'll see if Clem feels comfortable committing to it. The only issue is against Blink Stalkers. It can be hard to go across the map against those. And that can definitely be a problem as well, right? Because now you can't go across the map. The Blink Stalkers will just pick off your units on the way over. So then this bio push sometimes doesn't get over, and you actually have to wait into your factory and starport units getting up to make something really happen. 2 extra gates for the start. I mean, Stats is on the same build for the 3rd game in a row at the moment. Hoping to see something a little different. Let's see. I like that Clem got these units home. The other thing this does is obviously it kills the first unit, but it completely removes map control because these Stalkers can't move away from the shield battery early on. They are absolutely, they are stuck to this like glue. You just cannot leave it because the Marauders will just kill those Stalkers. And so it does take away that map control. And so Stats is now very blind. He has no idea what the follow-up to this is, right? He does not know in the slightest. He will go for a fast 3rd Nexus, though. Only 3 gates for the first time this series. Gonna move away from that 4 gate. But yeah, he's definitely a little bit in the dark, and this Observer out across the map early will finally reveal to him, okay, it is a lot of bio. I see kind of what you're doing. And Stats can breathe a little sigh of relief that it's not anything, anything a little bit more kind of crazy than that or a step up. I mean, this is still not fun to hold, and because he's got no map control, Clem is actually going to move across the map, so he will go across and see what he can do. If he could find something like a cancel on the 3rd base, that would be absolutely magnificent. I feel like that might be stretching a little bit too far, though. I suppose we shall see. Bio of Clem. And he started to move out, but he pulls back. Thing is, Stats sees all of this, right? He's just got these, he actually does get a scout, sees the 3rd. Seeing the 3rd, I think Clem looks at this and is like, man, I wish I was kind of over there right now because you kind of have been greedy considering I've got a whole chunk of bio. Now the Stalkers are on the map and they're ready to greet this and they're going to blink their hearts out. And that's obviously the painful part as well. Clem very early stim forward. And this is the nice thing. If you stim forward now already, you actually do get pretty far forward. Do kill the Stalkers though, Clem. Don't let them get away. That one actually did. So he only killed one of the 2 he should have had kills on. He got a little bit greedy trying to reach a Stalker number 3 there. And it didn't pay off for him. That could have been an extra dead Stalker. And those kind of things do help a lot in these scenarios. As Clem holds high ground vision, makes it a little scary for these Stalkers to move up. There's no observer nearby. He actually, Stats sees Clem continuing to reinforce. So he's got to be a little bit concerned about what Clem wants to do here. Stalkers just sat out the front as the forge begins. A couple of gates in the main. And that's going to be the next step from Stats. Whoa, that was all the wrong words. Next step from Stats. Able to get into a point where he's got all of those charge lots joining up. And going from there. I like this little flank in on the right side. Keep blink back right now. Some of these Marauders still in range. Nothing that really happens, though. And again, I like what Clem's doing. He's positioning. He's threatening. But he's not actually overcommitting. He's keeping this army alive until he really gets the support of medevacs and maybe even in the near future siege tanks as well. So he is building his 3rd base out in position, so he's not completely committed to a 2 base or anything like that. I like it though still, right? It definitely makes Stats feel pressured, and Stats is on 3 gases, making a lot of units, making sure he will survive the next few moments. We might have a fight here. Charge is what? A few seconds from finishing? 10? Honestly, fighting pre-charge would be amazing, but at the same time, maybe Clem wants to wait out for +1 attack, and that is one thing, right? The Forge here is fairly late from Stats, so +1 armor is just not really a thing, so this Bio army will still kind of chew through the Zealots once those shields are gone. And that's a good thing, right? That definitely gives Clem maybe a little bit more hope as the next 2 medevacs are actually bringing reinforcements, including the siege tank. With the position that Clem has on the map right now, a tank here can really cover some of the forward positions Stats might want to start looking into. Tank over here, similar idea onto the 3rd base. And it looks like that seems to be the plan as he drops that tank off. Puts it around the corner, a little bit tougher for the Zealots to reach it, a little bit less surface area, might get extra shots off as well. There's the Warp Prism from Stats, though, and I mentioned in the last game, or the game before, he's one of the best players in the world right now for knowing when those Zealots should show up in your opponent's base. And I know that sounds daft to say, because it's like, well, just move out on the map, but he always seems to get so much value out of these Zealot run-bys or Zealot drops. And right now, it really is, right? It's just a little bit before the reinforcements get a bit too much. As well, big fight happens on the other side, though, and Clem just eats his way through those Zealots. The tank shot on the sentries helps to chew through those. Guardian shield is gone. And Clem is just going to clean this army up, I think. Okay, Funes at the end says no. Immortal taking some extra damage. It's going to go down. The sentry as well. No, the sentry survives. The medevacs do lift up and get away, although it looks like they might drop aggressively. Liberators have come out to push this Warp Prism back. 17 SCV kills from stats, and Clem's economy is hurting a lot. 17 workers is a huge amount, actually. But yeah, just what I was saying about the Warp Prism is it really hit at a time where it's just before the reinforcements move. It's when there's still reinforcements at home, but if you wait any longer, it's too many at home. But it's not when there's like the Terrans just moved out as well, so they can pull the reinforcements back, right? It's that real kind of sweet spot of like, yeah, this is really like the best time where there just isn't enough to deal with a warping of Zealots. And that really led to being 17 SCVs dead. And well, Clem maybe has to put a bit more hope in his army right now. Stats already finished the armor upgrade, so Zealots will be a little bit tankier for the future fights. It did feel like Clem got through that first round of Zealots very easily. It was across the map and already the Zealots were dying. Well, the tank shots were really nice in that fight, I've got to say. As well, there's Zealots going down. He might have killed the Prism, but Zealots still know the time to show up. Unfortunately, not being able to warp in makes that a little bit more difficult to really find too much value. God, these Liberators are going to be frustrating for stats, though. You know, he's just not really at the unit count where you want to be able to, or you need to be able to be able to properly deal with Libs, but the Zealot count is fantastic. And that Zealot count goes running on in, and Clem is in trouble. He's going to get shut down and pushed back with ease. Wow, I thought that was going to be way tricky with the Liberators setting up, but the blink-in was perfect. It was in the right place. It was at the right time. Stalkers didn't even seem phased by those Liberators, and with the right amount of Zealots just to push through and to clean up as well, that is going to be pretty much a shutdown on Clem's aggression. And with the lack of workers that Clem had, definitely looking a little bit rough for him here. I will say, though, he's actually caught back up nicely. 52 versus 54. Obviously, we're living in a world where, you know, Terran has those mules. So actually, maybe this isn't so bad for Clem. His income might actually even start at being a little bit of a lead. You can see stats took a big boost when workers had to pull, but yeah, you know what? I don't hate it for Clem. I actually really don't hate it for Clem in terms of that income. What I do hate is this army already being huge. And this army really is huge. Ghosts are nowhere near being done. The Academy is just about to finish, which means we're really a few minutes away from having EMPs. And Storm is about to hit, and I don't see the splits that Clem can make to make this okay. Because I actually feel like the amount of time he's going to spend splitting against Storms here is just going to be free time for the Zealots to charge in and get swipes down. And that's going to be the problem. Stats is supply blocked right now, but you know what? Doesn't matter. He's about to trade out. Charges in. Don't like all the Zealots going to the right. Obviously, a lot of the bio on the left, so would have liked the Zealots to split up a little better, but the tanks really stand no chance at all. There's the High Templar. There's the double Storm. I mean, the Zealots end up walking into this, but this is just a little bit too much stats. As we're going to be seeing him coming in here. These Marauders all going down. It's not even a fight, really. It's just a cleanup from Clem, not being successful across the map. And it really all comes down to those Zealots getting so much damage done. If it wasn't for those guys, I actually think Clem was in a prime position, and I feel like the first fight went pretty good for him. He just couldn't follow up with that next, you know, big wave that was like, ooh, you know, really right in there. That would have maybe, you know, made stats keel over. Unfortunately, that wasn't the case at all. GG's, and Stats goes on to match point. Stats looking good to make the finals. Let's see if he can put the finish in. Alright, Clem, it's time to deliver. If you want to put up a fight, shut up the haters. I've seen them in the YouTube comments. Clem can't win anything. Wah. Despite watching him win the tournament in the video they're commenting on. This is the time, Clem, to show up and show us what you've got in you. As in the bottom side, our blue Terran player from Team Liquid is Clem. I don't know why I put this like little voice on for like Clem. I don't know what I'm doing there. I feel like it sounds cool. I feel like if I went back and listened to it, it'd be a bit like, maybe I shouldn't do that so much. Top right hand side, our red Protoss is Stats, and honestly, he's been looking great. He really fixed a lot of the sloppiness out of game number 1. And just tightening up on his gameplay has really just sent him really kind of, you know, soaring into victory in the games 2 and 3. Really, I mean, kind of textbook stuff, really, right? Stalker aggression working out, making sure you don't take damage early. You know, I mean, game 3 wasn't textbook because it was actually a little bit more complex and plays out a bit differently because it's very rare you see 3 racks so early in the game. But he really handled it well. He didn't give Clem much of a chance to, you know, stim in with the bio, and you know, the one time he did get stimmed into, he was already warping in across the map the Zealots that were going to be absolutely deadly. That's the other thing as well about the Zealots, right? The Zealots show up at the time where Clem really does want to fight, and I was talking about the timing of it. It's not just the timing of when those units are popping out, reinforcements and all of this. it's also the time when the Terran does not in the slightest want to look back home to go deal with that, right? Terran right then and there wanted to move in. And, you know, that's the whole thing about Zealots. You know, they're very A-movie, right? You just warp them in and you just let them kill SCVs. You know, you just kind of leave them to do their thing. And it's very hard for the Terran to do anything about it without paying a lot of attention, positioning units right, stepping a little bit, etc. You know, sending SCVs elsewhere. So if it happens at the moment Clem wants to take a fight before you get any better as the pros or any more powerful, it really stretches that multitasking and it really makes sure the Zealots get the most out of themselves. And like I say, that's what makes Stats seemingly such a scary player. Hold up though, because this is not an expansion. Clem's on one base here on Everdream. It's another map. No ramp up into the natural may really lead to something like this. You can see that's why Stats is scouting around with this probe. He got walled out, so he actually doesn't know what's in the main base in the slightest just yet. It could be a high ground expo. It could be something like this. It could be a proxy on the map. He really is blind. Going to be with a second Rax, but there's also a starport. I imagine this has got to be something like just a straight up super fast one base Marine tank Banshee or Marine tank maybe Liberator. That's very gas expensive too. You could maybe go Marine tank. I want to say Viking almost, but Viking, I guess it can land. There's going to be a tank. It's definitely just going to be a Marine tank push though, and maybe even just a medevac to support from the starport. I'm just trying to think what Clem might be able to afford. Right off the bat especially, you can see he's at 100 gas about now. Honestly, a Liberator might not be so bad. That's also very mineral expensive. What's he going to build off the starport to support this push? Looks like it is going to be a Liberator. He saves up until he has the gas for a Liberator. I mean, that definitely makes the most sense. The Liberator has a bunch of different utility as well. Well, apparently not. He's going to queue up a second tank first. Marines go chasing down an Adept. So trying to keep Stats' vision away. Stats just going blink into the robo, into second gate now. Okay, it's just a medevac in the end. I was kind of wondering. I kind of felt like the Liberator might be nice because the Liberator either has the choice of powering up the push at the front or peeling away to pull units out of position into the main while looking for some probes. But this is just going to be a medevac. I think the idea is you lift the tanks in the medevac. You can boost them across the map nice and quickly. Marines of Clem going to make their way out up to the upper right-hand side. I mean, obviously backed up by the rest of this army as well. A couple of SCVs even pulled. Stats has a shield battery. His extra gate's about to finish up, so you'll be on the 3 gateways now. Yeah, 3 gateways. He's about to finish up a 4th as well, so he just wants to go 4-gate blink. But, I mean, Clem's already here, sieging up these tanks, and they're going to get some good first shots off. You know what? Super Battery's not in range of anything. Stats just lost the game. That was a very one-sided fight. I feel like Stats just completely misread this. Like he doesn't have blink. The Super Battery, he doesn't even fight in it. I think he just wanted to shut it down before... Wow, what was this? Holy... Hang on a second. We gotta roll back the clock a little bit here. What the hell was Stats thinking? Right, so the army shows up. Does Stats see it coming across the map is maybe the first question. He sees it about now with the Observer, right? That's the first real vision he's had of this push probably coming across the map. He's got, at this point in time, he's got 2 Stalkers and an Adept. And I gotta say, that's not really a lot. Again, going Twilight, then Robo before the gates is actually kind of painful. He's also gone Observer, then Prism. And none of that's going to help him fight here, right? No, you know, if this wasn't Immortal, you already have so much more tankiness. So I can understand he's under a bit of pressure. Then, I mean, even the start of this fight's kind of bad. Tanks siege up, and the problem is the tanks are in range absolutely of this battery, etc. So Stats probably has to feel like he has to fight, but even where he does fight is so strange because he doesn't sit and fight here. The Marines move back, so he fights here. And that's the issue, right? Like, a little bit further back from my store, but the battery's out of range, so none of these Stalkers are held by the battery in the slightest, and it's because he's eager to shut down the tank, but it's a complete misread, and he's left with 1 army supply against 31. Stats could not have been less prepared for this attack, and Clem is going to bring us to match point. We're going to go to a game 5. This hasn't happened a lot in this tournament, so I'm glad it's happening in the semifinals. What a great time for it to happen. Okay, then, game 5, Stats and Clem, one last map to see who... This is it, the final map. One player going to go to the grand finals, and in the bottom left-hand side is our Team Liquid Terran. It is Clem taking on that red Protoss. On the upper right side, it's Stats. I would actually love to see one longer game. You know, we've not seen anything past 3 bases just yet. We've seen a lot of faster games, couple cheeky all-ins, and I like that. It changes it up, and, you know, it definitely makes things interesting. And it's not just everybody, but at the same time, that's great, but it's nice to actually also see one of those long games, right? And that's what I'd love to see here, something that goes on just that little while. So we get ourselves going. Gateway goes down in the main base, gets that started up, and let's see what Stats brings us here. Going into a 5th and final map. As, yeah, we go into, Pillars of Gold. As a map is... It's actually pretty large, was what I found, but there's also very definite and very well-refined kind of directions for your army to go as well. And I feel like it's very obvious that the army really is always going to come in either here and here into the 3rd, here and here into the 3rd, though that's less common, or down here into the 4th base, right? Or if this is the 3rd, right? Depending on this is your 3rd or this is your 3rd as the Terran player. And it feels like because of that, you get these really cool back-and-forth games where you're kind of never caught off guard by your opponent's army. I feel like it's very rare you see a base trade breaking out on Pillars of Gold. So yeah, it's a cool one. I've actually really enjoyed this map being in the map pool. It's one that I wasn't 100% sure on when it first came in, after it was in the TLMC. But actually, yeah, with the way it's been played out in the ladder, I've been a really big fan. So 10 out of 10 for that. Is Clem going to start this game off with a proxied factory? Or is he just going to build a factory at home, starport on the map? He's going to go command center first. He has a lot of gas waiting to go. What's the plan, Clem? What's the plan? As we wait for Clem to make his decision, just a quick mention that if you do enjoy the stream, the YouTube video, guys, of course, like, subscribe. Do check out the Patreon page as well. Link below down in the description. Perfect way to support if you're enjoying the content and help me to continue to produce more. So there's our decision made, so we can get back to it. Factory is dropped on the right side of the map. Uh-oh, I do an epic zoom in, but then you can't actually go further right than this, so you can't really do a cool zoom in on the factory. Thanks very much, StarCraft map editors. This is why we should have some extra space on the edge of the map. At the same time, probably annoying most of the time. You know what's the worst on this map? Units can actually hide in this top corner here, and you actually can't see them on certain overlays because the production tab's a bit bigger. You actually can't see them without shutting down the production tab. And it's been one of the weirdest experiences I've had where I'm like, I can't actually see the unit that's being killed. A very rare kind of issue to have. It's definitely something I can't actually remember having a problem with on other maps, honestly. Anyways, Twilight Council gets set up. Robotics facility drops down on the natural expansion as well. A couple probes continuing through. Warp gate is about halfway done. There's Hellion continuing out, so it is Hellions and a medevac. I'm assuming a medevac to drop into the main base in the very early moments of this in the next few moments. So yeah, a few more Hellions coming out. The starport's about to finish, and yeah, we get ourselves into this. Finish up that starport, get the medevac building, and let's see what this drop can do early on here from Clem. Everything on the line is a pretty big jump in prize money. Once you get to the finals, I didn't talk about the prize money of this event a lot during the videos, but basically right now they're guaranteed $150 for round of 4. Winning this doubles their prize money to $300 guaranteed, with a chance to play for a $700 first place prize. So, you know, you win this map and then the next series, and, you know, it's a $550 difference. So, yeah, pretty big deal for sure. Yeah, just 3 Hellions factory in the starport, head home instantly after that. In the main base we go. These Hellions have to do one-shots here, and that's why he drives for a while before firing, because he must one-shot to be able to kill the probes through the shield battery. And they went out of sync there, which is a shame. He's really struggling to deal damage. There's actually nothing fighting these Hellions off, and yet somehow, finally, we get a couple of shots, or a set of shots that actually kill more than one probe. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Now the probes are running, though. Now the probe's in trouble. They're not going to wall off, and now they're on the wrong side of this, and Clem finds himself 11 workers early in the game. Oh, so Clem gets some good damage done, takes a bit of a worker lead. He's going to boost back around, see if there's another way in for some further damage. Stats is on 3 gates, about to get gateway number 4. Man, Stats has been very repetitive in this series. I mean, it has kind of worked for him a lot of the time. I feel like the couple games that didn't work, it's very easy to be like, well, you know, I just fixed this and I'm good. I mean, to actually go for basically the same thing every game. I mean, he did change it up on Submarine with the faster expand. Instead of the 4 gates, he just went 3. Stats. 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 No. No, God damn it, stats. I want Game 5 to be epic. I want Game 5 to be awesome. I don't want Game 5 to be you flying your Warp Prism into a set of Marines. Well, that just shuts down the pressure. Robo Bay at home. Stats pulls out from the 4-gate blink attack, and Stats is honestly off, guys. Honestly, you know, a lot of the time I defend players, I'm like, you know, everyone has a bad day or something, or, you know, it's not that bad, right? You know, I actually think Stats is playing kind of bad right here, you know? It definitely seems a little bit off, just a couple of unforced errors. You know, errors he just really doesn't need to be making. Yeah, I find that very, very surprising, actually. Just hasn't felt like a full force Stats. And it really surprised me as well, because I know Stats was really excited about this tournament. Stats doesn't usually accept my tournament invite, so if he does, it's like once in a blue moon. But he was actually like, he's really eager. I was like, yeah, I've got this tournament. Do you want to play? And he's like, oh, yeah. And he's like, you know, straight away replied to me, which also doesn't happen even if he does want to play. And he's like, yeah, I really do. He's like, yeah, I'm down 100%. Let's do this. Sounds great. Lots of smiley faces. Stats very friendly. And like, yeah, that's what I mean. So it's just like, it's not like a thing where it's like Stats is just showing up and he doesn't care, right? Like, you know, that's what I don't get it. Like, it really is. He's just having a real off day so far. I feel like now I'm making up excuses for him almost, but like, it just doesn't really make... Yeah, it's just having an off day. Which, I guess that's crazy that that's the part that doesn't make sense to me. Because I'm like, he's having an off day, no! But then I'm like, well, yeah, I mean, what else could it be? I don't know. Stats is, not having the greatest game right now. As a couple of Hellions move around. Well, let's look at the positives here. He's got a 3rd base on the way. He's got Colossi coming through. I mean, this first push of Clem is already going to be pretty deadly. Now, he does build a 3rd behind it, so it's not a 5 racks, 2 base all in, which, honestly, after losing the Prism and the way this is set up, might not be so bad. Like a 2 base SCV pull or something, tanks the first few Colossi shots. Especially on Pillars of Gold, it's such an open 3rd base that you can really just... It's really difficult to, like, force field your opponent out on this map. So, yeah, something like an SCV pull can be very scary. If you come down this ramp, you get the force field here. Well, that's okay. But that's pretty much the only really force fieldable location. Once they're past this point, there's no way to really force field in this entire 3rd. Clem's not going to push into it too quickly. He has got that 3rd finishing up. He's got his 4th and 5th racks on the way in as well. And Clem now pulling back over the left-hand side a little bit. Extended thermal lens about to finish up on the Robo Bay. Forge in the main base. Bio Army of Clem comes around, and you see a little bit of a push up into this 3rd location. So he's going to come through, and he's just going to straight up stim for the 3rd base. Some Zealots go charging forward. And the Widow Miner 2 going off already. I mean, just clean. He trades out with the Zealots, which is okay because he actually doesn't really trade out that much, right? There's a couple units go down. Widow Mine's dropping. Very replaceable units. It's not like Clem loses a ton of units trying to make something happen there and only getting Zealots in return. Killed a couple probes. And now we've got ourselves a Widow Mine drop set to go into the main as a follow-up step to this attack. But the Stalker's in position for the moment. I mean, the good news is that's 8 supply that's in the main base. For now, a medevac that's not even over there. So this is actually kind of frustrating for Stats. Supply being dragged out of position. That's just good play from Clem, in all honesty, as these Colossi get a few more laser beams off, though, picking off a few more Marines. Other Stalkers will warp in. And the scan goes down to kill off and finish off a Prism. Stalker blinks back away from the Widow Mine. The Stalker's going to blink in, cleans that up, and whoa, he's gone a little bit far to the right side, though, and Clem knows it. He's going to use the Widow Mines to zone. He's going to go for the base. He's just going to get probes, I think so. He's not going to right-click the base down. Has 3 workers. Not a bad attempt, though. I mean, definitely keeping Stats scared as well, right? Definitely keeps Stats guessing a little bit of, oh, what's next? What the hell is he going to do now? Loving the movement out of Clem's army so far in this game number 5. And behind this, look at this. 4 Vikings at a time. Ghost Academy coming down too. Clem knows the tools he needs to really dismantle this later game army of Stats as the game progresses. Clem knows exactly what's necessary as the Observer of Stats continues down the bottom side. Yeah, there's Bioforce. Well, gonna keep on joining up. A couple of Vikings overhead and the army of Stats still out over on the ramp. Got this Marine of Clem coming through, and it's just going to sit off to the side as we have got the few Vikings still Over on the left as well, watching for prisms, not really letting Stats get into his comfort zone of prisming up a main base or anything. I'm just, making sure he keeps his lead. He knows he's got a lead. He's been making some good moves to keep it. He's not been making any ridiculous moves that weren't necessary or anything along those lines, and I think that's a pretty big deal as well, honestly. Do you have our army moving around the left side? And there is Stats setting up a Nexus, setting up a pylon. Still a Marine in the top, and we do just see Stats continuing through Zealot Stalkers. Colossi and Sentries all getting going. The bio army of Clem makes its way to the middle of that. Man, this army is huge. 121 army supply to 74. Stats is on the left side. Clem's going to scan that and be like, well, I do want to take that fight. This is a really bad position for the Colossi to fight because the Vikings can hide over this dead airspace. Even just on the ledge in general, good blink though, and it's going to take down 2 Vikings to begin with. That's the sort of start you need. Problem is there's Ghost Chase and they're going to hit EMPs on the sentries. Oh, second EMP is good as well. That's the only force field that's really available. The Colossi are already dropping. And so our Stats is hoping this game, guys. This was not the long epic macro game I was hoping for. This is kind of a game decided early on, but cool movements from Clem from there on out to, again, close it out safely. You see a lot of the time, TVP players get into a good spot, and it is easy to lose those advantages. Well, hey, right now, Disruptors are going to come through, and wow, first one denied, second one kind of gets a little bit of a connection. Well, Clem's definitely got his work cut out for him if he really wants to push in here. There are units across the map at the same time. 25 workers going down. Zealots on the third base having a really good time. Vikings are going to land in the main, though. I need to get rid of that Dark Shrine. No need to put up with Dark Temple if you just don't need to, right? Disruptor shot's good for the Vikings, however. Well, this base trade scenario is getting a little bit weirder than it needs to be, especially with these Disruptors, which are actually kind of delivering on a lot of kills. I mean, this has probably gone better than Stats could have hoped for. Clem still needs a scan to remove the DT that's swiping through his army. Okay, he drops the EMP. That's also an effective manner of getting rid of it, as again, the Disruptor shots doing what they can. Clem, is he actually only on one base right now? Okay, he saved one of the orbital commands, but the other one did die, so he has actually lost an orbital here already. He's lost both his starports. Problem is, how does Stats ever fight this army of Clem? Well, it really comes down to him somehow getting Disruptor shots that clean up so much. Stats mining the top left side, but of course all of his production's already unpowered, so it's not like he can really do much with the money that he's mining. These robot facilities aren't going to find much either, and that's the issue. Clem just got on top of the production, and Stats, that's the one place he didn't get to, so Clem's still building up a little bit extra here. And he lost a couple of starports, he lost a few racks, but he's still building a bit. He's not going to lose that ramp. And that's the thing, if Stats had held that ramp, maybe it's a very different game. He's also mining top left, right? Hold the ramp, hold this base, and you're mining top left, and maybe you can actually make this work while doing that damage, but that's so difficult to do, right? Much more easily said than done as the Disruptor shot flies and does not strike. And we're just going to be seeing the bio army here from Clem. It's just a little bit too much, and I'm a little bit sad. I honestly thought this series was going to be a little bit... I know we got to 5 games. I just thought it was going to be a little bit more epic, more so than... It kind of felt like, Stats kind of just died to his own mistakes. I mean, and that's obviously how StarCraft works, but mistakes that Stats shouldn't really be making, right? Mistakes that we don't really expect from someone as good as Stats. GG's. And that is going to be Stats dropping out of the tournament. The good news is that means that Clem wins out and goes to the grand final, so we do have a non-mirror matchup in the finals. It's going to be more TVP. I'm not going to spoil the other semi-final just in case you haven't seen it, but it was a PvP, so no spoilers there. So one of those pros has advanced. They play Clem in the grand finals. Guys, that video will be up in the next few days. I think we're going to have a couple days break for people to watch the semis, and then the finals will go live. So make sure you check out that. And thanks so much for watching today. Appreciate the views. Appreciate you all tuning in. And I'll see you guys next time. More StarCraft every day right here on WardiTV.